It is Election Day Eve in many parts of the country. The Virginia governor's race in particular has become a big-name, big-dollar fight. It pits a former chairman of the Democratic Party against a former co-CEO of a private equity firm, and is also a test of Democrats' enthusiasm, as well as the Trump legacy in a swing state. As Lisa Desjardins reports, one lightning rod issue has emerged: public schools.
A fall day in Northern Virginia. Time for wine and catching up with friends.
There's so much food here.
And in the final days before the state's gubernatorial election, some time to talk politics too.
I was more focused on presidential elections, not realizing at the time how important local and state elections are.
For this group of moms, that means the politics of education.
I am confrontational, and I will stand up for my children.
Because they know our kids matter, and our kids have been politicized, and that's not okay, not even a little bit.
Women like this from Virginia's suburban counties are critical for both Republican Glenn Youngkin and Democrat Terry McAuliffe on Tuesday. Suburban voters in the state narrowly backed Donald Trump for president in 2016 before swinging to Joe Biden last year. Now polls show the race for governor is a dead heat. In Northern Virginia, the deciding issue for a quarter of voters is education, a 10-point jump from September alone.
You're a swing voter.
Yeah, I'm a swing voter. I'm the person that politicians sort of love and hate.
Dana Jackson, whose daughter is now in high school, is an independent. She's voting Republican this year, and she sees others like her.
I have some friends that are Democrats who have never voted red in their life. And this time they voted every red box they could find. I mean, they were raising hell about Trump, and
they opposed President Trump, but here they are now voting for the Republican candidate.
Yeah.
Because of schools.
Yes, because of schools. Schools have been the great equalizer.
During the last year, as the COVID-19 pandemic forced classrooms to go virtual, she helped organize rallies to reopen schools.
I think that our children's lives are at stake, literally. Our children were locked out of school last year, and it was detrimental to this area. It was detrimental to all of the states that have lockdowns for children.
That debate has flared at school board meetings across the state and country. After contentious meetings over the summer, Northern Virginia's Loudoun County instituted a new policy. The dozens of people wanting to speak to the school board now file in one at a time and address a mostly empty room.
How stupid do you think parents are?
The anger was palpable at last week's meeting. Most were upset about two recent sexual assaults.
This board in the school system puts children last.
As well as vaccine mandates.
We will not relinquish our right to privacy, our body autonomy, and our parental rights to care for our children exactly as we see fit.
And how history is taught, including the idea of critical race theory.
Would you stay quiet while your white child hangs his head in shame? Or your darker-skinned child acknowledges her victimhood because the school knows best?
We got to win because our children can't wait.
On the campaign trail, both men vying to be the state's chief executive have taken up the education mantle.
We have got to take our education system to the next level.
Democrat McAuliffe, a former governor, vows to raise teacher pay and expand pre-K programs. But something else he said about education at a debate has haunted him.
I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach.
Conservatives pounced.
Terry went on the attack against parents.
Republican Youngkin, a businessman and father of four, has pushed for school choice.
Virginia parents have a right to make decisions on their children's education.
But some parents, like Todd Kaufman, whose daughter is a high school senior, say Youngkin twisted McAuliffe's words. Kaufman wants parents to have a say, but thinks day-to-day classroom decisions are for educators.
Parents that have never joined the PTA, have never been involved in the school, all of a sudden are upset that there's public schools deciding the curriculum. I mean, that's how that works, right? There are experts for a reason. We have educators for a reason. We elect a school board for a reason. We trust that they're the experts.
And I really appreciate you guys all coming out here.
Kaufman feels so strongly, he and others formed a group, Loudoun for All. They go to school board meetings to push back against conservative concerns that he thinks Republicans are manipulating for the election.
Focus on the fear. Youngkin has definitely embraced that and has pushed that. And the fact that it's all based on misinformation, the fact that it's based on, at times, downright lies, doesn't really matter.
Democrats hope this new ad from Youngkin could actually help them.
It was some of the most explicit material you can imagine.
This mother is talking about Toni Morrison's book, Beloved, saying she wanted a warning about its violent and sexual passages. The book about slavery was part of a college-level course. Soon after the ad ran, McAuliffe's campaign started handing out Beloved at his rallies.
He has been endorsed by Trump now 9 times.
McAuliffe is also trying to tie Youngkin to former President Donald Trump, paint him as too extreme. Trump has endorsed but not campaigned with the GOP nominee. Farida Jalalzai is a political science professor at Virginia Tech.
Maybe that's a lesson that the Republican Party has learned and taken to heart, is trying to soften the stance, soften the image that some really started to associate with the Republican Party by the very fact that Trump had been in office for 4 years. Because Virginia is trending Democratic, this should have been a race really that was perhaps more easily in favor of McAuliffe.
At stake is not just the state's political landscape, but national momentum. That's why McAuliffe has campaigned with big names like President Biden and Vice President Harris. They know Virginia is the most important blue gain the party has had in recent years, a foothold in the South.
That's not a question.
What happens here will either give Democrats a sigh of relief or give Republicans a bold new playbook. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Lisa Desjardins in Loudoun County, Virginia.